The skyline of downtown Detroit providing the backdrop. We welcome you to Belle Isle, the scene today of the third round of the 1993 SCCA Trans Am Tour, the Motor City 100. Hello, I'm Gary Jarrell. And even though it's only the third stop on the championship trail this year, the drivers further through this third.
You know, it's one of those things. And Jack Baldwin had a tire go down, and Detroit denied you. You went on to the championship, but I wonder, does this place owe you one?
Well, I like to think it owes me one. I still think about that race last year, and when Detroit gets away from you, you know, it's one of those things you never forget. But hopefully we can redeem ourselves today and make it right.
So Jack Baldwin looking for redemption after frustration a year ago. The field is now rolling. That conversation came just minutes ago. He's on the pole. Bobby Archer's alongside in the Dodge. In the second row, Scott Sharp, the only man who's won at Detroit twice, who's in the field. Tommy Archer won it a year ago. In row 3, the Fords driven by Dorsy Schroeder and Wayne Akers. In row number 4, Randy Ruhlman and Ron Fellows, who's off to a great start, leading the points with victories in the first 2 events this year. And rounding out the top 10, George Robinson and Don Sack. Further through this 35-car field, an opportunity to take a look at how they get set for the green flag. Greg Pickett had to change an engine, and so he went from 5th to 6th row on the starting grid. He starts 11th. On down through the field, the one lady driver in this event, Deborah Gregg, a Trans Am veteran, starts in the 10th row in the 19th position, and Walter Payton, the former NFL star, in row 11. He starts outside. A 35-car field getting ready for 100 miles of action in the Trans Am Super Bowl at Belle Isle. James Moyer rounding out the field, and now everybody beginning to line up behind the safety car as they'll head out of turn 14 in the front straightaway. And we're about to get a green flag. The field beautifully aligned. Baldwin sets the pace. Archer alongside, looking for green as they thunder down the front straightaway. By us, the green flag is out, and we are racing on the streets of Belle Isle. Baldwin from the pole has the initial jump, and we've got a problem in the middle of the pack. And look at this traffic jam right underneath us here. Randy Ruhlman in car 5, pointing the wrong way, and it's gridlock here on Belle Isle on the start of this race.
We saw, we talked a little.
Back in Belle Isle, we had a problem on the initial attempt to start this race. The front of the field got away cleanly, but at mid-pack in about the 4th or 5th row, all heck broke loose, Scott.
It certainly did. You can see everything pretty smooth here, and all of a sudden, right out of nowhere, it looked like Randy Ruhlman actually got tagged from behind, and then, as you can see here, just a total backup. Actually, gridlock, as a matter of fact.
We ended up with 8 or 9 cars being damaged in this particular incident. It was at mid-pack. Ruhlman got knocked around, and then you can see everybody having to jump hard on the brakes, and there was a lot of rear-end contact made that resulted in damage to numerous cars. In the pits, Walter Payton's car was one of those that got severely damaged, both front and rear, and you can see the crew working diligently trying to get him back out for a restart. So the field has now regrouped. Again, Baldwin to set the pace. He's inside in the front row. We'll see if they can safely make it through the first couple of corners this time as they begin to accelerate and look for a green flag. We have the green for the second time at Belle Isle, and once again, it's Baldwin who makes the move. And now look at Scott Sharp challenging. Archer on the outside apparently has hung on for second, and back at mid-pack, everybody safely making it through the start of the race. So we're much better off the second time around. And Jack Baldwin likes his position. He's now on top. Archer runs second. Scott Sharp, the teammate to Baldwin, has taken over the 3rd position. Everybody now breathes a little bit easier, Scott, and they try to get into a race routine.
They certainly do. And as you can see here, this track is very, very tight. It's very tough to pass on. In fact, we were looking at some of the data from the IndyCar earlier today, and you're virtually turning all the time. There's virtually just very little bit of straight.
14 turns on this 2.1-mile circuit. It is smooth. They're not 90-degree corners that you frequently find on many temporary street circuits, but it's tough to pass. And in trouble, car number 16, John Gooding, getting up alongside the Armco, limping along
for points. Dorsey's out there looking for the win, but secondly is trying to help him get the points, trying to help him with the manufacturer's championship as well as the driver's championship. The Fritz, I'm not sure. There's a lot of damage up front. They might be able to get it fixed and get back out racing.
Now we go back on board looking at this battle of traffic. This is from the backside of Archer, and here comes pressure now. This is, I think, Ron Fellows, who just made a move on Akers.
A good move right at the end of, right into turn 1, actually. Got right up underneath him, managed to work his way by. Again, he was able to get by Dorsy Schroeder, as well as now Wayne Akers, so he's going to be moving himself up.
Fellows was disappointed because he had qualified back in the 3rd row, and in the final practice session earlier today, he was the fastest man on the circuit here at Belle Isle. And now, after playing a patient waiting game, he's starting flexing a little bit of his muscle. Jerry Clinton in the 14 car loses a lap now as the leaders string on by. That's still Tommy Archer, the defending Belle Isle champion, running in that red Dodge just ahead of Ron Fellows. But Fellows is clearly the man on the charge. And here's another one of the Dodges. This is Mitch Wright, who's also found a tire barrier. The 38-year-old driver out of Duluth, Minnesota, having the same fate that was met by Bill Saunders, his teammate, just moments ago.
You wonder if there's potentially something happening with the cars, or maybe either having some sort of problem with them, brakes, perhaps, or maybe just some sort of driver error.
Well, both of the Dodge driver teammates having problems. We'll be going to a commercial break. Still on top, Jack Baldwin, the leader. Ron Fellows, however. Ron Fellows is suddenly on pit road at Belle Isle. After he'd moved up to the top 5, he has moved off the course and quickly into the pits. Pits once again with Chris McClure.
Well, an enterprising man named Ed Dellis has come up with a new steering wheel idea. It's a personalized steering wheel with a grip on it.
A little wide, we talked about the groove being on the inside, got out there, was a little dirty, and almost lost it.
So now, Dorsy Schroeder has been able to regain a position that he lost earlier. Let's take another look as they came sweeping through that turn. Hanging that back end out, he was just inches away from doing damage against the concrete.
What you call using the berm?
Indeed. Meanwhile, your leader, Jack Baldwin, getting a real grip on that steering wheel. One of the nice things about that personalized grip is you fuse your fingers to the wheel, Scott. I'm told that it takes some of the pressure off the forearms. It relaxes the arms. The fatigue factor not nearly as great over the course of a long race. But right now, Jack Baldwin, we got his mirrors full of Mr. Archer. Bobby Archer at car number 9, really applying some pressure now. Maybe the first time that he's applied this much pressure in this competition.
It certainly is. Maybe some of that steering wheel pressure will help take a little bit of pressure off Archer there. I don't know. It's he's leaning on him really hard here. Looks like Archer's car is a little bit better under braking. We can watch from the camera view right here, going down into turn 1, now into turn 2. Little jog to the right here, turn 3. And we can watch Archer. Whoa, Jack's actually spun.
Baldwin spinning around. We were watching out the back when suddenly he lost control. The man who had a race problem here a year ago that cost him a potential victory, now at mid-race, trying to fire it up and get it restarted. We see flame coming out from the exhaust on the side. Now he gets that motor back to life. He'll try to slide it back in the right direction. And we have a brand new leader as Bobby Archer, who was applying the pressure, is now on top. And we'll have to find out how far Jack Baldwin has slid back. That was Akers, I think, who just went by him. So Baldwin may be as far back as 7th position.
Oh, he actually gets pinched here.
The replay shows us indeed he did get pinched in traffic. And suddenly, Archer, the beneficiary, has the lead, and Baldwin has got a lot of work to try to make up ground if, in fact, his car has not been damaged.
You see, we're working on some traffic here, some lapping traffic. Gets up underneath him, doesn't see him, pinches Jack off, forces him to spin. Archer's right on top of it, managed to stay out of the melee, takes the lead, and unfortunately Jack Baldwin is sitting there probably back in 4th position right now.
So Jack Baldwin will try to regroup and try to work his way back into the competition after leading throughout the early going. He's now back several positions. So let's reset the field for you now. You can see that Baldwin has slipped back to 5th place. It wasn't quite as bad as we thought it might have been, but still disastrous for Jack Baldwin, who led much of the early going. Dorsy Schroeder ahead of him. As we check through the top 10, you'll see Akers, Robinson, Stevens, Perner, and Derhaag. You're getting the view here from Tommy Archer's number 3 car that is currently in 3rd place. He's the man who won here at Belle Isle last year, and right now he's got some ground to make up if he wants to get up there and challenge Scott Sharp and his brother Bobby, who are in front of him. Let's go back now and take one more look at that problem that befell Jack Baldwin as we were watching out the rear side of his car when he got in trouble. Here comes the pressure from Archer. What we don't see is the traffic that Baldwin had to contend with.
We certainly don't. Here he comes, exiting turn 2, looking up to go underneath the lap car. Gets pitched off, and here, spins it, backs into the guardrail.
We're watching Dorsy Schroeder now on the 12 cars. He works the traffic. He is currently in 4th place. He's got one more car in front of him before he has a chance to challenge the 3rd place runner, that of Tommy Archer. So Dorsy Schroeder is making up some ground now. His teammate Ron Fellows had that earlier problem that put him in the pits. So right now the pressure goes on Dorsy's shoulders, but he can handle that pressure. Scott is a former Trans Am Series champion. You know his racing game very well.
He certainly does. The thing that we're going to start seeing now is who's been conserving their tires and brakes and who hasn't. Lap traffic's been a major problem, but if you've been leaning on your tires too hard, it's really going to start coming into effect just about now.
Well, you can see him have to tap the brakes there as he got around, I believe, R.J. Valentine very cleanly, but all kinds of traffic. And we've got a lot of different drivers at a lot of different speeds. You can see the damage on some of the cars from a variety of incidents already this afternoon on the streets of Belle Isle. That's Greg Pickett, who's right now in front of Dorsy Schroeder, the number 6 car driven by Pickett. There is Schroeder. Pickett was involved in that earlier melee that put him a few laps back, so he has not been a factor in this one. But he's still a veteran driver, and he might be a tough guy to pass.
He's always a tough guy to pass. I've learned some valuable lessons from Greg Pickett over the years running together, and he doesn't make it easy.
We remember last year that Greg Pickett put on quite a show because he spun on the opening lap, went to the back of the field, and came up and finished second. But right now, Schroeder has found the line. He gets by Pickett, so he puts another car behind him, and he closes ground now on the 3rd place running Tommy Archer. So this could be very interesting here now as we have Archer in front of Dorsy Schroeder.
Another good shot looking back.
That's from Tommy Archer's car. Could be that one of the other Dodge team cars is still in between he and Schroeder. That appears to be the case. Here's a problem now for Akers limping in the 21 car. He is pulling it into pit road. Coming onto pit road is the number 21 Mustang driven by Wayne Akers. It made a memorable start earlier, and clearly some damage here.
Caught the left front. Caught the left front pretty hard. Looks like he may have got a little wide. And as we saw earlier, it skimmed the wall, and here's the look at it.
Yes, indeed. They were 3 wide. He came across the groove, the left front, and the concrete has claimed another victim, this time just before turn 13. So Akers' crew trying to assess the damage, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any hope of him getting back as we take another look at the incident.
Another good look, trying to get by lap traffic up the inside. Gets a little grip through here to the groove, and then it's gone. It's out there. It's dusty. There's not much grip. Once it's gone, he's just into the wall, turns up the left front corner.
So while Akers' afternoon is now complete, here's your leader, Bobby Archer on top. Scott Sharp just a few car lengths back. Tommy Archer, Dorsy Schroeder, Jack Baldwin now in the number 5 spot, followed by Robinson, Stevens, Perner, DeHaag, and Smith. Your top 10. Back at Belle Isle, I'm Gary Jarrell with Scott Pruitt and Chris McClure. We're watching a race for 3rd place. You've got Tommy Archer trying to hold off Dorsy Schroeder, and Schroeder has been closing ground. He has now got his next potential victim in his sights, and the Ford sneaking up on the Dodge. We take a look from that rear side of Archer's Dodge back at Dorsy Schroeder. Boy, hanging that back end out. You can tell it's a little loose. And here comes Dorsy Schroeder now with the challenge. He may have the room. He's made the pass. And taking over 3rd place is Dorsy Schroeder.
We saw a little bobble by Tommy Archer. Got a little sideways. That gave enough for Dorsy to slip up the inside of him going back into that back corner.
So Dorsy Schroeder, the 1989 Trans Am Series champion on the prowl, has taken over 3rd place. Schroeder driving one of the Mustangs for Tom Bloy, now having to contend with more traffic.
A lot of lap traffic here.
Now let's go to the pits. We'll check in again with Chris McClure.
Wayne Akers had a smile on his face. He said that's a gambling place to pass as he viewed the Schroeder pass, and I think that's where you got in trouble out there in the turn 13, hard right-hander.
Yeah, it was a back marker I was trying to get by to stay close to Jack Baldwin, and He went deeper than I thought he would, and I overcommitted. And coming out, there's no way I can make the turn. The front's locked up.
Is the issue going to be tires and brakes as usual for Detroit?
I don't know if the brakes are too bad, although they were starting to fade a little bit, but tires for sure. And there's a lot of oil and water on the surface from various encounters.
So a smile on the face of Akers, even though his day is complete, as we watch Jack Baldwin trying to sneak up on some traffic now. He has Greg Pickett in front of him, and then he has in his sights the fourth place car driven by Tommy Archer. So Jack Baldwin, after that difficulty in traffic when he got pinched into the wall with the spin, trying to work his way back up. You see Schroeder in number 12, Archer in number 3, Pickett down laps, and here is Baldwin in car number 1. Moving now to that 13th turn where they slide into the right-hander. A quick little spurt on the throttle, and then they come to turn 14, and the right-hander again puts them on the front straightaway.
Pickett's been running very strong today. We've seen him in this position just a little bit ago. Let Dorsey go by, and then let Archer go by. And now he's in a situation where Jack's wanting to get by, but Pickett actually has enough speed to keep him behind, so it'll be interesting to see what Greg's going to do.
Schroeder was able to get by and pick up a couple of spots eventually, and it didn't take too long. Right now, Baldwin has got that same situation, and here is another car parked up against the concrete. Looks like the tail end of a Corvette. In the color scheme, it might be Moyer of the 96 car, although we could be premature in that respect. And we can see that there is some bodywork damage on the left side.
The same place where Akers got into it. Same wall, coming probably just a little bit too deep in the turn. A little too hot, came off and slipped right into the wall.
Here now is Baldwin. He has squeezed by Greg Pickett, so he now has a chance to move up. He didn't gain a position, but he did get by a tough man to pass in the veteran there of Pickett. So Jack Baldwin may also get an advantage because we understand the yellow flag may be coming out. That car of Jim Moyer's that was parked alongside the wall was right in the line, and they may have to go yellow to free up the race course. And if that happens, that'll tighten everybody up, and we'll have ourselves a shootout here at Belle Isle. We're still waiting to see if, in fact, that will be the case. And now the yellow is being displayed, a full course yellow. And so we'll be back, and we are going to have ourselves a real Trans Am shootout in the Super Bowl of Trans Am racing, the Motor City 100. Well, back at Belle Isle, after the yellow flag, all of the leaders have now been tightly bunched. We have 8 men on the lead lap. They are now nose to tail. There's also a potential problem for the leader of the race, Bobby Archer. For that report, let's quickly go to the pits and Chris McClure.
Well, Bobby Archer has been reporting from the car during this yellow and chatting with brother Mike Archer about the heat. He's having a very difficult time in the car. He says the cool suit is working just fine, but it's simply so hot in there, he has been getting dizzy. So perhaps that's an issue that will play out in the sprint. Meantime, the fuel situation a little up in the air depending on who you talk to. Early on, we heard Tom Gloy express some concern. We heard a report that there wasn't a problem from Buzz McCall. They have the Camaros with Jack Baldwin and Scott Sharp, but the Dodge boys were very worried. They said before the extra laps, the extra pace lap and race lap at the beginning, that they had it figured for less than 1 mile worth of fuel reserve at the end. So the yellow may have saved their bacon if Bobby can handle the heat.
The field on the front straightaway now as we get ready to anticipate the green. The tempo picks up. We've got a restart. Keep in mind all the leaders now nose to tail, and very quickly Bobby Archer, dizzy or not, on that throttle hard, and he jumps out leading. Scott Sharp coming through in the number 3 position is Dorsy Schroeder in car number 12. They try to open up a little bit of distance, and now pressure from Schroeder on the outside trying to make a move. Can he get through? He's made the pass. Dorsy Schroeder has moved into 2nd place. Sharp running 3rd. Jack Baldwin also picked up a position, got by Tommy Archer. So Baldwin is now 4th. And we talked about a shootout, Scott. We've got one. Here's Dorsy Schroeder now taking the lead. How about this? Dorsy Schroeder, who was well back in the early stages of the race, suddenly, for the first time, the new leader and pulling away.
He certainly is, and you can look very dominant here as well. I mean, he's just pulling away from everybody.
Driving a Riley and Scott chassis for Tom Gloy. Dorsy Schroeder, the veteran, out of Baldwin, Missouri. 7 wins in his career in the Trans Am circuit. And right now, I'm sure there is an ear-to-ear grin on that face because he is rapidly pulling away from any and all challengers.
A lot of pressure here. Scott Sharp on Archer and Baldwin right behind them. So it's a very tough battle we're seeing. Scott Sharp up the inside. Looks like he may have it.
Well, indeed, Chris McClure talking about the heat problems for Archer, and Bobby now back in third place, and Tommy also with his hands full. A lot of traffic bunched up behind that group. One of the cars sideways coming onto the front straightaway, but holding on to the position as Archer. Now Baldwin tries to make a run on him, and that blue and yellow Hot Wheels #1.
Looks like there's a little bit of smoke coming out of the back of that car as well. Bobby Archer may start having a little bit of problem. You see a lot of oil on the back of the car as well as some smoke, so he may be potentially having some problems.
Watching them sort their way through, trying to pick up the positions. This is back now a few positions from the leader. Out on top, Dorsy Schroeder, Scott Sharp is second. This is a race now for third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Archer gets sideways, and Baldwin picks up another spot. Boy, Bobby Archer is really having a problem. He radioed the crew that he wasn't feeling that well, that the heat was taking a toll, and he's been all over the racetrack. Here's a spin. Jim Stevens in 65 goes around now.
Jim Stevens was actually having a good race. He was on the lead lap as well at the time. Was making his way up. Looks like he was in third. Have a little problem getting back on track.
Slammed into the concrete as he went to spin it around. He was in sixth place on the restart, and now you can see bodywork rubbing on one of the right rear tires. Well, a tough break for Stevens. We've got the onboard camera again with Archer. We've now had three different manufacturers lead this race. Ford has been there, or is there now. We had Chevy for a while. We had Dodge. So all the manufacturers getting their moment of glory. But, of course, they want a checkered flag. They want to be in victory lane.
A little bit of lap traffic here. The Royal Oak car sitting right in front of him, trying to work his way by. And then in front of him, Robinson.
Royal Oak car driven by Jeff Turner out of Missouri, who's best this year, 29th in both of the early races. He had tough luck at Long Beach and at Atlanta, and he has been among the top 10, currently in the number 8 spot. He's in that 07 car right in front now of Archer.
Looks like the Archers had a little tough time getting their cars going again. Dorsey very handily got by and just took the lead away. It looks like their cars were actually quite slow coming off the turns. I'm not sure if they were having a tire problem or maybe some other sort of problem.
The 74 car driven by George Robinson trying to hold off Berner. That is a battle for position. Robinson of the 74 car is listed as 5th. Berner right behind him was battling for a spot, so we keep an eye on those two. Archer now behind him. That is Tommy Archer in the number 3 car. Heavy smoke being reported off of Bobby Archer's number 9 car. Take a look at Robinson once again. They had to rebuild the whole front end of this race car after a big-time crash in the last race in Atlanta, and apparently all of that hard work has paid off.
It certainly has. It looks like he may be having a little bit of front body damage on the left corner, but for the most part, still fairly well intact.
Keeping an eye on the traffic. We're getting a report that the safety car may be coming back on track once again, which if that's the case, Dorsey Schroeder's big lead may soon evaporate. There is a problem on course. And we are going to get a full yellow. There it's being displayed at the starter stand for the second time. A full course yellow that is going to regroup the field. Currently, Schroeder 4.5 seconds on top. Back at Belle Isle, the reason for the yellow flag, the car of number 65, young Jim Stevens, a 23-year-old recent graduate of Western Michigan University, who ended up in the tire barrier and then also had to have some emergency treatment. Not seriously injured, but the safety attendants checking in on him. And Scott, let's take a look here.
Here Jim Stevens was racing for position at the time. Gets in a little too deep, spins the car. Archer does a great job getting by him.
Tommy Archer with the evasive action. The yellow flag out as a result of the incident, and that will regroup the field as we take one more look.
Here racing for position, trying to move his way up into 4th. Comes up. Makes a great move here. Gets in himself in just a little too deep. Spins the car.
So the field has been realigned. Dorsy Schroeder's 4.5-second lead is history. The green flag is back out, and the sprint is on once again. 5 laps to go. Scott Sharp in that bright yellow Camaro right off the backside of Schroeder. Now, after Schroeder got the lead, he was able to pull away. This time, Sharp sticking right off that back bumper, just 1 car length away as he makes his challenge. Baldwin races by in 3rd position. In the 4th spot is Bobby Archer. George Robinson rounds out the top 5. We have 7 cars on the lead lap.
We're seeing Dorsy Schroeder actually trying to protect his position. He doesn't want Scott Sharp to let him get up inside of him. Potentially right here, he could have got up underneath him, right on his bumper. Coming onto the back straight, nose to tail. Dorsy, Scott Sharp.
Sharp trying to make a run on him now to see if he can find position and perhaps outbrake him. Now you see those taillights flash as they hit the brakes.
Taking a look up underneath them there. Now this is a flat-out sprint race to the end. We only have a few laps left, and they're going hard at it. This is for the championship and for the manufacturers.
And here comes the challenge. Once again, he took a good look on the inside, couldn't squeeze it off. But I am intrigued, Scott Pruitt, as to why Dorsy Schroeder was able to open up the big lead moments ago, and now he's unable to do so.
We got a good look behind Scott Sharp, Jack Baldwin.
Solidly in 3rd. If in fact anything happens to those top 2, Baldwin could get back to the lead. Remember, he led the early stages of this event, fell back to 5th in the incident in traffic, and now has worked his way forward. And look at Sharp just all over the backside of Dorsy Schroeder.
Dorsey hands full right now with Scott Sharp all over him. Looking to the left, looking to the right.
Schroeder, who last won at Mosport in Canada 3 years ago in 1990, one of 7 career wins, trying to get a victory here in the Super Bowl of Trans Am competition, the Motor City 100. Right now, this one is very much up for grabs because Baldwin has closed in 3rd. Archer is a solid 4th, and any of them could have a shot at it here in these final laps.
We're seeing a hard charge. Ford versus Chevrolet. Dorsey, Scott Sharp, Jack Baldwin.
They are all right there. It's a Ford that has the lead. It's a Chevy running 2nd and 3rd, and a Dodge races 4th. We mentioned earlier that
Bobby Archer also right behind Jack Baldwin, so he's in contention as well. All these cars, nose to tail.
We should also point out that even though he's not on the lead lap, Ron Fellows, the season points leader who had that incident early and spent a considerable amount of time in the pits, is back in the top 10 and in fact is running in 8th place. But right now all attention is focused on these 4 at the front. This is the girlfriend of Dorsy Schroeder. Some anxious moments now as she takes a look at times, hollers encouragement as they come across that stripe one more time. We're down to the final 2 laps. It's still Dorsy Schroeder in the Ford number 12. Scott Sharp in the Camaro number 33 running 2nd.
Takes a look. Going to have some lap traffic coming to contention here in a minute.
We have seen a variety of incidents already today as they've had to deal with the concrete and the traffic. It could be a factor on the final lap and a half. Less than 2 laps to go. Dorsy Schroeder, the 1989 Trans Am champion, trying to get the job done in the Motor City 100.
Scott Sharp, Jack Baldwin, Tommy Archer.
Scott Sharp, of course, as we mentioned early, has won this race 2 times. The only man in the field who's been able to do so. We've had a variety of winners over the years here, and look at this, a bit of traffic, but the traffic gets out of the way, and the 4 front runners slide through cleanly.
What a better way to finish this race off. This kind of a shootout for the finish.
Now they come to turn 12. They'll head for the final 2 turns, and when they come off of 14, we'll have the white flag. Somebody getting out of shape back in the pack that time, but was able to keep it going. It may have been Walter Payton who got back out in his Mustang, the 34 car. Now onto the front straightaway. The white flag will be unfurled this time by, and here they are coming right straight at us. The 4 leaders, paced by Dorsy Schroeder. They cheer them on for a final time as the anxious crews await on the pit wall. 2.1 miles to go. Can Schroeder hang on for an 8th career victory in his first since 1990? Scott Sharp looking for the victory right behind him and a chance to put some pressure on season points leader Ron Fellows. And Jack Baldwin, the defending series champion, solidly in contention in third. It looks like a three-car battle. Archer has slipped back just a couple of spaces in the fourth position. Less than a lap to go.
Dorsey's making his car as wide as he can right now. Scott Sharp right up behind him, taking a look to a little bit to the right there.
Less than a half second separating the top two. The pressure again from Sharp. Schroeder trying to hang on. Here's Sharp. He's running out of time and he's running out of options. We've seen challenges made as they come out of this corner around the casino and the Scott Fountain, moving to turn 12. This may be the last opportunity for Scott Sharp to challenge.
This will be the last opportunity. If he can get enough speed off this turn up inside of him, just doesn't look like he can get it done.
Dorsy Schroeder hanging on. He's got the Tomboy Mustang in the lead, and he may be stretching it by a car length. Here's turn 14, the final opportunity. And onto the front straightaway, and there is traffic in front. Here's Schroeder now. Will he get to the checkered in car number 12? Looking for the checkered. He's got the victory. Sharp has to settle for second. Third place to Baldwin. Archer finishes fourth. George Robinson is fifth. So he withstood the pressure coming down to the checkers to get the victory in the Super Bowl of Trans Am competition. Dorsy Schroeder on the cool-off lap. We'll meet him in victory lane in a moment. Today's coverage of the Motor City 100 from Belle Isle has been brought to you by the new Dodge, a division of the Chrysler Corporation. So a Ford is in victory lane. Dorsy Schroeder is now with Chris McClure.
Dorsy Schroeder, this morning after the final round of qualifying, you got out of the car happy as a lark. You really hooked it up today.
I didn't do it. Mechanics did it. These guys, I wrecked this car twice yesterday, real bad. They worked till 3 o'clock in the morning and gave me the best car here. Wow, what a day. I haven't won a race in a long time.
Were you having any trouble with the car in the last couple of laps? Kind of a wide line. You got wide anyway.
I wasn't going to give this away if I didn't have to. Scott was running awful hard on me. I was really loose. I wasn't going to let this slip away. Not with 3 to go, 4 to go. No way. It was a good race. I got bumped one little time, and boy, we ran hard. You know, Scott drove real clean. I knew I could trust him to do that. So my hats off to him. He's a good former champion, and there's a lot of fun. This is the best racing there is right now.
Dorsy Schroeder started fifth. Today he enjoys his 8th career Trans Am victory, the first Ford win at Detroit since Scott Pruitt in 1987. We check out the final standings. Scott Sharp in second, Baldwin, Bobby Archer, George Robinson in the top 5. Jeff Perner ends up being the hard charger and the rising star with his best career finish in 7th place. As for the season championship point standings, my, have things tightened up. Fellows now by just 3 over Scott Sharp. Baldwin in the number 3 spot.